Spring is almost here. This morning I was making a little video on the T500 nasty Gap-alicious Titan when I heard my message thing go off, bing, and I received a picture of my vapor blasted engine parts. I leapt up and down in excitement because they look so good in the pictures, and I am now on my way to Gallatin, Tennessee to see my buddy Mike and pick up my Keeler parts. Alright, just got home. Let me show you the finished product. Hold up. Let me first show you the before, then we'll get to the after. This is how the parts looked before vapor blasting, but after cleaning. If you're interested to know how I clean these parts and got them to this point, there is a video on that in the link in the description below. You can check it out. Although the parts were free of dirt, grit, grime, and grease, they still lacked a luster, a shine, a pizzazz, if you will, so to speak. Wow. Look at that. Look at how clean and beautiful these parts look now. They almost look painted. These parts are not painted. They're vapor blasted. Look at that. Look at what vapor blasting does, if done right. I'm not talking about if not done right. A lot of folks think they're professionals out there, and they're not. This guy knew what he was doing, knows what he's doing, and made all my parts look beautiful. I am a little upset about one thing, and that's this thing right here, because I forgot to send it. So, whatever. It happens. Maybe I'll mail it. Nothing more to be said. Time for the assembly process to begin. I need to start by saying all of this stuff should have been removed before bringing it to the vapor blaster. I did not do that. I opted not to. He vapor blasted it. I took it out there and used a pressure washer on it over and over and over again to clean it up. But the right way to do it is remove all this stuff, have it vapor blast, bring it back, clean it all up real good with like a pressure washer or something. I mean, it's got to be cleaned real good because there's glass beads still in there. And then reassemble it nice and clean. I did it the way I did it because it's mine. I can do whatever I want. You guys know I like to use assembly lube on stuff, so I put it on the inside of the seal here. And we'll just... I also like to spin the seals as I push down to make sure that they don't get folded over. This one was for the gear shifter. Little sticker in there. Speaking of gear shifts, here's my new used gear shifter. I put some assembly lube on there so it'll slide in nice and easy. We'll just slide it in until you feel that seal. When you feel it, touch that seal, you need to just ease her back and forth a little bit. Apply a very little bit of pressure and get it past that seal. And we'll line these little boogers up. There you are. I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. And it looks like that right there. There are two retainers for our gears here, our gear clusters. One goes there, one goes here. There's also one for the crankshaft. We installed the little retainers here, but there is also a dowel pin on this side that you need to line up with your gear cluster. Make sure you do that, or else you'll be cracking cases and stuff like that. All of your shift forks need to be in place on all this mechanism. This little plate has to go in before we do our gear cluster. It fits right in there like that, right into its slot. Now time for our cluster, and I'll carefully get it into place here. If you have this collar properly seated into your dowel there'll be no gap right there. You don't want to see any gap in this spot right here. Our next gear cluster, same situation, clip here and a dowel pin here that needs to be lined up. This is our clutch rod right here, still sitting in there. I'm a firm believer on checking everything as we go. I think it's in 5th gear. I got this shifter on here just to check things. So there's fifth, there's fourth, third, second, first. I think that's first. I think I missed a gear. Anyways, you get the point. Crankshaft time. Here is a retainer I'm going to put right here. I think that's what side. The manual doesn't specify which side, so it could go on this other side. I'm assuming it goes towards the gears. I'm not sure. I don't think it'll make any difference. I'm putting some assembly lube here because so that my seals on my crankshaft will just slip in and not get bound up or cut or anything like that when I go to put it in. There are dowel pins in this case to line up with your bearings on your crankshaft. It would certainly be a shame to forget the oil pump drive gear. Both of these case halves have to be perfectly clean and dry, all this surface here. This should bring up a lot of discussion, especially with the trolls. I'm going to use this anaerobic sealer on the cases. This is what I want to use. This is what I think is best. This is what I'm going to use. Raining like always outside. That's what the noise is. That's what the anaerobic sealer looks like when it's all spread out. I spread it out with my fingers a little bit. Now I'm going to put the case together. There's a dowel pin here and here. This one was missing, but I think it was supposed to have one there. So maybe this engine's been took apart before because it was never there. This gap, I think, is just from the seals. The new seals in there are pushing it a little bit. You know, you want to very gently snug it together if you're going to do it like this. But I think I have to. Seems to be working fine. You don't want to, you know, you got to be careful not to crack the case. And see, like right now, I'll check. Make sure everything spins nice. And as long as everything's working fine, I think you're okay. I'm not torquing these yet. I'm just snugging the case together. So don't get all wild and crazy trying to squeeze it down just yet. Have a few bolts in the front, 2 in the back. I'm going to flop her over now, and we'll work from the underside of it. Let me turn it around for your viewing pleasure. Yeah! Getting heavy. All the while I'm doing this, I keep turning things. Bolt sizes you have to kind of pay attention to. Unfortunately, here we are again. Because of my incompetence, I somehow or another failed to record myself torquing the engine down, which is very important, in my opinion, imperative. You need to torque any engine that you build. In this case, I torqued it. I started from the center and worked my way out. I apologize for my failure here to show you and document this, this event. All torqued down, bolted together, on to the next step. This little retainer will go on next, or that's what I'm choosing to put on next. Whoop, drop the screw. Let's look at the neutral safety switch. Look. There's a slot in this shaft here. Here is the screw I removed from it. You guys see the little tab there? See that? Little tab kind of towards my fingers. That's what fits in that slot right there. And then the fingers on this little thing will fit onto that slot. I'll show you. So before you tighten it up, put this in the position there so it's held in by that slot. Then tighten your screw down. Now you can see that's in there real nice and tight. The reason I'm showing you this is because mine just fell out when I took it apart. But your cover will go this way with a wire towards this side of the engine, towards the cylinders. You take your ohm meter, hook one side to here, one side to ground, and you hear it beep, and it has to be shifted in a neutral position. It'll beep only if it's in a neutral position. That's how you do that. It would be much easier to do it after the engine is completely assembled, because when you're trying to shift it, your shifter's going in and out, falling out, and kind of pain in the butt that way. While I'm right here, I'm going to stick my clutch seal in. Whoop, dropped it. The way I understand it, this is a weak spot on all motorcycles. They seem to leak oil there. When I tore this engine apart, I thought silicone was holding it together, but it was an O-ring right here. I don't have it, so I'm waiting on that. I'm missing a seal here also that didn't come. I put one, I think, down here that would have fit here also, I think. Anyways, I'm missing those seals. Gonna check my ring groove end gap. I would say this ring will be the same as the other one I just checked. Let's see what we got. Yeah. About 16 thousandths, maybe even 17 thousandths. 18 is the service limit, so we're right at the limit, and if you ask me, that's good. Looser, better on a two-stroker, I think. Less chance of it seizing when the piston expands when we're going 12,000 RPMs, and that's what I want. Happy with that. Pistons, again, are labeled front, and this is the right side. Oh, I put this little bearing in there, of course, with some assembly lube. Don't forget your clips. Please don't forget your clips. Make sure you hear that booger snap into place. And I did. I love two-stroker rings because they have a pin in the piston, and you line the rings up there so you don't have to, you know, clock the rings like on a four-stroke. I don't know if all two-strokes are that way, but this one is, so that's a good deal. Don't scratch your piston. I'm going to do this off camera so I don't scratch it up. And you can, by the way, get these rings backwards because the groove there fits into that pin right there. And if you get it backwards, that's, you know, you're going to break it. Let's see if I can do this one on camera because it's the top one. I'm just going to do the, see there? I'm just going to slip around there. And there, that pin stops it, you know, from turning. You got to be real careful, make sure these are lined up when we go to put the cylinders on. Pay attention to how your gaskets go on. Don't block your oil port. Make sure everything lines up right. I also coated the inside of the cylinder with oil. And I mean a lot of oil. Make sure exhaust is in the front, of course. See if we can get this on. Make sure our rings are lined up with our pins. Now time for the right side. Oh, that's it won't hurt a thing. It's an oil party here, and that's kind of what we want anyways. And again, this cylinder is coated with oil like Major. It's time now to install the heads, which are over here, but I'm not going to do that right now because I would rather surface them better than what I did. This part needs to be really flat and nice, and I kind of did a shady, crappy job in a previous episode. I'd rather get those real nice and flat, so I'm going to work on them. As you can see, our workbench has become a catastrophe. We still need to install the clutch. I'm not sure if I'm going to get new friction discs. We need to maybe put new seals in the oil pump back there. The stator needs to be installed. Unfortunately, because of a lack of resources and time, we're going to have to cut this video off here, and I'll have to continue it at a later date. Please allow me to get some parts in, a little more time on my hands, and we'll carry on with this project. Keep in mind, this is not a how-to, by the way. This is a how I do. When building an engine, it's best to have a manual. I normally look through the manual before I start, and also while I'm going through the rebuild process, I always consult the manual. Don't let the trolls or so-called experts scare you into thinking that you don't have what it takes to rebuild an engine. Of course you do. Anybody can do it. I want to thank everyone for all the support I've been getting on these videos, especially the Suzuki Vintage Facebook groups. All you guys have been great, and I appreciate you sticking with me on this thing. That's it for this one. Make sure you check out the previous videos on this bike. I am the one and only infamous Kentucky Yankee, without a doubt. We'll see you next time.